When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locusts, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily I am so distant from the hope of myself in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches, and they call it again. "It's simple," they say, "and you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine." Good evening. It is about almost 8 p.m. It's 7:58 right now. I wanted to share some of my little ideas on what I have on consuming media as an introvert, just as somebody who is super sensitive. I feel like I have a lot of ideas on it, and I just wanted to share some of the favorite medias that I've been consuming. Number one for me, I wanted to start off with what I'm not consuming, and that is pretty much any kind of social media. I have listened to myself a lot in the past couple of years and kind of just found out that I can't be on Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat or Twitter. I found that just because I'm so sensitive and because I just never found a way to have a very healthy relationship with social media, I just found that the best way for me is to not be on it. I feel like anything that I watch or see or read really affects me. I feel like I don't take things in super gently. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of times when I tell people that I'm not on social media, they're like, "Oh, like that's so hard, like good for you for doing that," but also like, "Oh, like I can't imagine like being able to like get to that point." But for me, I feel like I didn't have like it doesn't seem like a flex for me. Like I just feel like for me there was no other way to live. Like it just simply didn't work for me on social media. And I'm not trying to get on here and tell people to delete TikTok or Instagram. I'm just kind of sharing that I deleted it and I don't use it, and it has made a world of difference for me. I'm here wanting to share some of my ideas on keeping my sensitive heart protected in such a chaotic world, and staying off of a lot of social media has been the number one thing for me to protect my heart. I also found that there's just so much space in my life for good things, also for like boredom, which I feel like humans and people these days just deprive themselves so much of boredom. But I've been reading The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, which I either will be talking about at least a little bit more in this video, or I already have. And he has a really beautiful section on inspiration. He was just talking about like, I think in like Latin, inspiration comes from the word that means like to breathe in, and it's saying like to breathe you must first empty your lungs. And inspiration comes in the kind of that space of emptiness, like when you have like boredom or extra space in your life. And I found that ever since I deleted social media and I've had more opportunities to be like, I'm sitting in my room and on my bed, I don't know what to do right now. That's when I'm like, let me pick up my paintbrush, let me journal, even if it's not going to see the light of day. And even if it's not like a particularly poetic journal entry, I just find that any way that you're picking up a medium, whether it's pen, whether it's paintbrush, whatever, has just been such a much more peaceful and understimulating way to live my life. And I've really been kind of focusing on understimulation. Honestly, my word for 2025 and the biggest thing that I am trying to bring into my life is love and slowness. And I think that that's a really hard thing to do, especially the slowness aspect. When I was first kind of intentionally bringing in boredom or understimulation in my life, it was very underwhelming. You know, I think that a lot of times on social media, it's romanticized of like, I don't know, like laying in my bed and just like thinking. And like, once you're actually doing it, once you're like sitting on your bed and reading a book, a lot of the times you're like, I miss my dopamine. Like I want to go and pick up my phone. But I really found that once I acknowledged this is underwhelming and boring and not as perhaps as romantic as I thought that it would be, which is kind of what I was receiving on social media. Like I'd be like, oh my God, that girl just sits on her bed all day, or she just sits at a beach and thinks, like whatever. I'm like, that just must be such a romantic, beautiful way to live. And when I first started implementing that, I was like, this is pretty uncomfortable and underwhelming. But once I like committed to the act, and committed to see, I guess, what was through that boredom, it really is such a beautiful way to live. And I'm not perfect at it. I still I use YouTube Shorts sometimes and I'm not proud of it and I'm trying to cut back. But even then, like, my social media consumption, I think, is a lot lower than at least what it used to be. And I think that that's all that matters. And I'm certainly no pro at living a slow and a life that's free from instant dopamine, but that is something that I am striving for. And I think that, like, once I actually committed to beginning the process, my life has gotten so much more beautiful and so much more peaceful. I just wanted to quickly share some things that I've really been loving. I wanted to share my 2 favorite artists right now. I don't have a lot. I don't particularly follow particular artists. Honestly, I scroll on Pinterest, I see a photo and I paint it. And I do want to move past like painting certain photos. I want to be able to like paint from images in my brain or like inspiration from my life. And I'm not there, at least yet. And I think that that's totally okay. My 2 favorite artists right now are Sunny Woo. She does a lot of beautiful Asian women. She ties in a lot of nature with that as well. And she just has such beautiful colors. I'm half Korean, and it's just so beautiful to see myself or my family represented in art. And I also just love her style. I think that it's incredibly beautiful and is something that's a little bit like outside of my ability. So seeing somebody do something that I can is always really cool. And then my other favorite artist, her name is Hilma Af Klint, I believe. She does a lot of beautiful work with nature. I feel like she kind of plays with like geometry and like has a little bit of a more of like a spiritual, like pastel-y prints. I just think that it's so beautiful, and I highly recommend you checking either of those artists out. I'm very open to receiving any other artists if anybody has any recommendations. The one media that I do consume very consistently, I watch TV, or again, sometimes I will consume a little bit of social media, like through YouTube Shorts, or I don't know, on my partner's phone, something like that. But my social media of choice is YouTube, which I found is a pretty like untoxic kind of like long form content, suits me better. My favorite YouTubers is number 1, always has been, I feel like always will be, is Hitomi Machizuki. I've been following her for a really, really long time. I love her authenticity, also her just spiritual perspective. She just does very like calming lifestyle videos. I feel like all the YouTubers that I watch are very authentic and vulnerable, and also a little bit more like mundane and kind of like very relaxing. I've been loving Cam Does It. She's been traveling a lot and kind of documenting her process of traveling, also kind of being a young woman in like her late 20s and kind of navigating spirituality in a world of capitalism and consumerism while having a gentle heart, which I feel like I really, really resonate with. And these are all women that have really inspired me to also start filming my own YouTube. Yeah, I feel like I don't have any like specific books or specific genres that I find particularly soothe me. I feel like any book really soothes me. I think Sally Rooney is probably my favorite right now. I just finished her newest book, Intermezzo, a couple weeks ago, and I just feel like she highlights emotional complexity so well, and her books are very like slow and mundane, so I think that they're definitely not for everyone, but I really feel like she just writes about the nuance of human experience in such a beautiful and mundane and real way, which I really love. I'm currently reading the Hunger Games series, which isn't a particularly relaxing book, but it's just so good. Suzanne Collins came out with, I think, a 5th book last month, and that's why I'm like, okay, I've never read the series and I want to read it now, and it's just so good. And I think that I'll kind of read any book. Like, I'm weirdly into kind of like thrillers. I really am into that kind of like high fantasy genre, like the ACOTAR series, and I'm dying to read the Thorn of Glass and Fourth Wing series. Hello, my camera was at low battery and also my SD card was full, so sorry for the weird camera adjustment. I hope that this angle is straight enough. I think I was sharing my favorite books. Sally Rooney, her book Normal People and Intermezzo were very beautiful. And then the book, what was it called? It was like Bookshop at Mori's, Slow Days at Mori's Bookshop, something like that. It's about this Japanese woman who goes through like this intense heartbreak, and she's like a very grim person. And then she starts working at her uncle's bookshop and kind of just spends the day reading books, and she kind of like meets this guy, and it's just like also like one of those like very real books. I find that in this stage of my life, as much as I like kind of all genres, I really am enjoying maybe the most kind of like the books where it's kind of like no plot, just life, like no crazy plot, just life. And I don't think that that's for everyone, but if that's what you're looking for, I highly recommend those two books. I can't think off of the top of my head any other ones that I really love, but if I have any more, I'll put them on the screen. I just found that when life is so crazy, what I'm consuming is the biggest step that I can take to quieting my heart. I think that when you're on TikTok or Instagram, no shame to anyone that's on TikTok or Instagram or anything like that, just I found that for me, you have like zero control of what you're consuming. Yes, there's an algorithm, and yes, you can kind of like curate it or cater it towards yourself, but at the end of the day, you're seeing so many videos. Also, just short form content just did not suit my brain. And so I found like being mindful of what I'm reading and consuming slow content, whether it's like 800 book 8-part series or it's a 20-minute YouTube video of somebody trying to live a calm life. It just makes my heart really happy, and maybe it'll make your heart happy too. Hello, I wanted to take some space and talk about journaling. I think that this is something that I would want to make a whole video about, kind of about my whole like journaling ecosystem, especially as it develops more. I want to do a video kind of on how I express myself on paper, whether it's journaling or painting or any medium really. But for now, I wanted to touch a little bit on my journaling practices. I actually talked about it a little bit in my last video, but I wanted to go in depth a little bit more, and I think that it's a really important thing to talk about because I am sharing how I navigate the world as an introvert and as a sensitive person, I guess, more specifically, and journaling is my number one tip. I think that journaling is something that everyone talks about, and I feel like it's kind of always shoved down everyone's throats a little bit. And sometimes you just aren't a journaler, and sometimes you're just not in the phase to be a journaler. I've definitely gone through that. I've been journaling like very inconsistently since high school, like freshman year of high school, if that. If not earlier. I mean, I would journal as a kid, but I would say like keeping a journal and like wanting to actually like talk about things. I've been doing that since high school, but it's been like incredibly inconsistent. But I would say that since coming to college, it's been a lot more consistent. And in the past year, it's been incredibly consistent. I bought this journal in January, actually in like one of the last days of December, and I'm like about halfway, I would say a little bit more than halfway through. As somebody that has struggled with being consistent with journaling, I know how frustrating it is for everyone to talk about journaling, but it really is the biggest thing that I've done for my mental health and for my heart and for my brain. If you're not journaling, maybe this video will help you. I would say that my number one tip for getting into journaling is, number one, to be inspired. I think that getting a journal that really suits you and making it your own is really important, and also finding ways to incorporate your personality in your journaling. For me, I have loved, I want to kind of say I hesitate to share things to buy and like good pens to get you into journaling, just because consumerism culture and I don't want to contribute to it. But also I think that you should make your journaling and your journaling practice special to you and something that makes you excited. And so I do want to share what I do to make myself excited about journaling. I actually have one more of these, but I love these antiquarian books. They have these like very beautiful stickers, and I love like I also love using these for love letters. So like there's initials, and I'll incorporate those into the love letters that I give to my people. You can see that I've had this for over a year, and you know, it's pretty, it has over 1,000 stickers, and so I think it's 100% worth the price. They're also, like, as you can tell, like very good quality. So my favorite thing to do that makes me excited about journaling is I'll fill up the cover of my journal with stickers that I feel like are very Janaea coded. So I just have some things that I felt like suit me. I love putting stickers on the outside of my journal. That's my #1 favorite thing. I also do them on the inside. Like this was just the opening page. I just did my name. And then I kind of started off, I opened up my journal with some manifestations. I actually didn't ever finish writing these, and this is something that I still have the intention to finish writing. But yeah, I just kind of have like little manifestations, and kind of like where I'm at, I like to introduce myself, I guess, in each journal. And then on this page I have this quote about journaling that I really liked. This is like the journal that I carry with me everywhere. Sometimes I'm not in a journaling phase. I'm definitely in one right now. Like this week I have been going through something, and like on multiple days I have journaled like 5 pages. I think that like all this much is just like from a week, and they're not like completely filled up, and some of these I have like little postcards or just like little things. I also love to put in the stickers throughout the book. It just really inspires me. Like I'll be like, oh, like how am I feeling right now? And then I'll kind of put a sticker in. I love doing like little postcards. I went on a walk a couple weeks ago, and I painted like I took pictures and I painted the wildflowers that I saw, and then I wrote about all the things that were making me feel loved or making me feel love on the walk, and I wrote that in my journal. If I go on like trips or something, I will kind of save things and paste these in. These weren't done very well, and also I think that it's important to kind of normalize that not all your pages have to be like beautiful, filled up, like aesthetic. Sometimes my handwriting is a lot more sporadic. Sometimes I don't fill up pages all the way. I think it's important to like not go in with like perfectionism. And as you can see, some pages I started and then never finished, and I think that that is okay too. I would say, besides kind of making your journal your own and romanticizing it in your own way, having grace with yourself when you're not in journaling phases. I think that it's really hard when I'm not, I don't know, I feel like it's just like a balance of having grace with yourself, also being disciplined. There's some days where I'm like, I literally have nothing to journal about, and I pick it up and I'm like, I'm feeling pretty neutral today, or a little bit sad, and I don't have much more to say about that, and that's my journal entry for the day. But I also don't want journaling to turn into a practice, to turn into like a chore for me. I want to do it when I want to and like feel really inspired to. So I think you just kind of gotta like find that balance on your own. The YouTubers that I watch all journal and like talk about journaling, which I think motivates me a lot. Again, with like the media that I consume, I make sure that it's like media that inspires me or like aligns with like who I want to be or where I'm at. And if I'm sitting down and watching a video and they're talking about like how amazing their like journal entries are, or like how much like they've been journaling throughout the day, and I'm like, oh god, like let me go pick up my journal, and I just feel so inspired. Quite literally, as of today, I found out commonplace journaling, and I'm not well versed on it, but my interpretation is that you kind of put all your like field notes. This is kind of where you like process like books or quotes or like things that you've been like learning. It's a little bit more like maybe academic-y. On like my Pinterest, I consume like really beautiful poetry, or like in YouTube videos that I watch, like maybe I'm like, oh my gosh, she said that so eloquently, I'm gonna take quotes and like write that down. This is something that I'll talk about when I make a video all about journaling. I think the Creative Act is a really great book to kind of help to facilitate me starting my commonplace journal, because the author Rick Rubin just has so many things that he talks about and like so much great insight. And like as I'm reading it here, I'll show you, like I'm not super far, but like as I'm reading it, I'm like underlining things and like sticky noting things, and it's just like kind of hard, I feel like, to refer back when there's just so much. And it's such a big book, but if I'm actually writing them down, it helps me process things better, and it's all in one place. So I'm really excited to start this. I'm going to definitely decorate this with some stickers. I kind of just look and feel like see what feels aligned to me, or like what kind of represents me, or like what I want in my journal. And then when I'm placing my stickers sporadically in my journal, I'm like what do I feel like represents my day? And I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. And I was writing about how I was filled up with so much love and happiness. So I did some swans in love and some flowers. I hope that maybe this inspires you to pick up your journal if you're not, or it's some ways that you can romanticize and kind of make journaling your own. I think that journaling should really reflect your personality and is something that you're excited about. And I know that whenever I look at this, I'm like, wow, this is such a Janaea coded journal right here. Let me pick this up and put some Janaea thoughts in it. Yeah.